Greetings and salutations, netizens. This is Fortech, and here we are with another delightful video. Today, I'm going to cover the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Gamemaster screen. I was originally going to say the Gamemaster screen for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition. Both ways work, quite frankly. This Gamemaster screen is more than a Gamemaster screen. This is very much in line with Call of Cthulhu's deal. It's priced at $29.99. And you say, that is rather expensive for a Gamemaster screen. Well, it's not just a Gamemaster screen. You also get a nice little booklet that comes with it. You take the little sheet, rather flimsy, but it lists off what you get. Boop. In the Gamemaster screen. I'm going to take the book, put it down here, and this is the Gamemaster screen. It has a rather, say, disheveled appearance as far as the artwork is concerned. Warhammer is all about the grimdark. Yes, the grimdark. Yes. You have these buildings right here, which are run down and beaten up. It goes from right to left. It is a vertical orientation screen. So it's not a horizontal landscape, it's a vertical setup. So there's some game masters that don't like the verticals. I personally do not mind verticals myself. And this guy doesn't get much use because it's really hard for me to get people to play Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. However, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is one of the deepest roleplay. I mean, like acting, in character, talking, adventuring, socializing, sing with NPCs kind of role-playing system, because it's so deep into the mechanics of that, and it has answers and solutions to a broad range of those issues. But not all. It's also a deep combat system. So you have your ice cream and you have your cake. You got your cake and you got your ice cream. In Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, you pretty much have your ice cream, but you don't have cake. Yeah. And in Call of Cthulhu, you have your cake, but you don't have your ice cream, or you don't have very much ice cream. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition is this beautiful combination where they give you a big piece of cake and they give you a big pile of ice cream right next to each other, and they hand it to you with 2 sets of forks and 2 sets of spoons because you're autistic and weird. And I should not judge because I'm also weird and autistic. But anyways, this system is just loaded. This right over here on this side is common names of the old world. You got humans, halflings, halfling clan names, dwarf forenames, dwarven clan names, elf forenames, high elf epithets, wood elf epithets. So yeah. Human surnames, human forenames. Forename is first name, okay? And then they continue on to, halfling clan names and halfling forenames. So even in the terminology of naming your character, they put in the effort and the time of differentiating elf epithets, elf forenames. So you got an example of Iriander for the forename, and you got Brightheart as the epithet. Like Irian of the Brightheart, or Brightheart Irian. Then you have character trait table down here, character trait, motivation, and quirk table. Beautiful. A D100 table down the side. Very well set up. You got trait, motivation, ambition, and quirk right over here. So you can just quickly roll out a D100 to get arrogant, change, become someone else, looking for investors for a new scheme. So you got this beautiful D100 chart that really kicks you off into building characters. The name section will be here. And then you have this master skill list. Also, by the way, it references the page right here. Page 118 that references the core rulebook. So you can find all these master skills on that page. You got difficulty right here. Very easy, average, challenge, difficult, hard, very hard. And they reference page 153. And opposed tests, success levels. You've got a broad range of successes. You've got talents and tests section right here. It references page 132. You got ranges, because the system is based on a range system. You know, like point blank is anything plus 10 within with a modifier of 40, any close to you. Short is plus 2, plus 20 on the modifier, or yards. Range is divide by 10 by 10, and then there's divide by 2, and then times 2 and times 3 extreme. Sorry about that. I had like a brain fart while explaining that, and like just shorted out right there. But anyways, it's the point blank range is range divide by 10, and then the modifier is plus 40, and it references page 297. Then you have this psychology section down here because Warhammer, as I said, has an incredibly deep social system to it that allows for a lot of interactions and ranges of instances. By the way, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, if anyone ever goes and like you ever find like a list on like the most epic or one of the most famous or one of the best social intrigue campaigns, city adventure mysteries, stuff like that, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay keeps showing up towards the top of the list. The Enemy Within campaign is actually one of the greatest campaigns of social intrigue and conflict there ever is. It's not heavily focused on combat. It's a lot of role play. There is combat in it, but it's literally one of the most lauded adventures ever. You got over here the advantage table, the fate rules and table here, the fortune, the resilience, resolve, hit location table, because when you're rolling dice, the D100s, which by the way you only need a D10 and a D10's dice to play Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, just that. You roll those two dice, and depending on what you get, a whole bunch of things happen. You reverse numbers, you roll them again in some other side situations depending on what you're trying to do. It's basically just rolling D10s repeatedly. Nothing really else different from that. You got an assistance rules section here. Over here you got a coinage, income, selling, availability, and common items table. Awarding XP by performance, session, adventure, campaign, gaining XP from ambitions. So you got short-term ambitions, long-term ambitions, retire the character, next character gains half the retired character's total XP detail. So you can literally just have a chain of characters continue through a campaign. Got a movement table, completing a career, because Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay does not have a class system. It has a career system where you can be a police officer, a cobbler, a smith. You gain skills in that field and levels of what I could define as proficiency for the layperson. And as your character gets better, they gain and improve their skills in that set of skills. They improve their skills. Yes. There's an advancement cost table here. Conditions. Common conditions, page 167 in the core rulebook. You got a section on weapons. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of weapons. And you got a section on armor and creature size section right here. And this is actually a really nice Game Master screen, other than the fact that some people are going to poo-poo it for being a vertical. But it's beautiful, it's well built. It's solid cardboard, cardstock. And then you have this delightful book that is all about Game Master advice on how to run the game. Yes, how to run the game. Game Master advice. Bits of history about the old world and other fun stuff. And in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, you got tons of awesome artwork. All of it really gritty, grimdark, delicious. You got chapter 2 on running the game. Advantage, tracking advantage. Character death section. Continue on. This is actually really insightful here. I'll back up a page and read just a list. Like, examples of motivations. Authority, change. I'm just going to list them quickly. Charity, control, debauchery, envy, faith, God, fame, freedom, glory, gluttony, hope, infamy, justice, knowledge, love, obligation, order, patriotism, perfection, pleasure, power, respect, revenge, ruin, servitude, survival, unity, wealth, violence. And that's some of the suggestions. I'm going to go and read charity. Charity, you are motivated by a need to help people. Whilst many give to charity in pursuit of power, status, and out of boredom, you do it for your own sake. Charity in your eyes is its own reward. Helping the less fortunate and giving what you can regenerates your resolve. There's a resolve mechanic. So whenever you do things tied into your motivation, you get a positive effect back to your character. Or other effects depending on how the mechanics are playing out. But generally it's pretty much resolve. So it's sort of a fun little role play mechanic. There's social status system and standing in society, cost of living, changing status, tapping communities. Then the second, chapter 3 is about NPCs with personality, how to construct, how to read various stat blocks, and how to run them in various situations. They give you some fun examples of various characters. And the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay art is always a winner. You got a D100 table for I Need a Job. Goes multiple pages, which is kind of a negative point, but it's still okay. How do I know you again? That's a nice little table right there. How do I know you again? You find yourself in a tavern table. Example doomings table. So there you go. You don't just get a Game Master screen. You get a handy dandy book that helps you out, expedite you through the process of running your Warhammer Fantasy roleplay adventure. I normally would say that I would give a review to these things, a score to these things, but I had to remind you that I don't have the opportunity to play Warhammer Fantasy roleplay. I just basically just managed to get an opportunity to talk to various people, and they're all spread out. So I would really love it if more people got into Warhammer Fantasy roleplay. In fact, I would absolutely love it if Jim Davis of WebDM would run me in a campaign of Warhammer Fantasy roleplay at some point in the future. But I had to do some upgrading of stuff before then. So, what I can tell you is that for the $29.99 price, that is actually somewhat high. Most, let's just say a straight Gamemaster screen without a book or anything, kind of sits around that $14.99 to $19.99 price range. You get some of them up towards the $24.99 price range if they're really nice Gamemasters, paper cardboard Gamemaster screens, but of certain companies. However, this Gamemaster screen comes with a booklet, and the booklet is just absolutely delightful to page through and look at. And I definitely would say that this game, you're probably going to buy this Gamemaster screen anyways. The booklet is just a wonderful little extra thing that's added in and to help you out even more in your game of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition. As it says on the tin, it says grim and perilous tools for Game Master in the old world. So, yeah, I would love to play it. By the way, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition is produced by Cubicle 7. They're a great company. They do tons of awesome stuff. I would definitely say go ahead and check out their stuff. It's just amazing and interesting to look through and play. And as always, I'm a proponent of trying and playing as many tabletop gaming systems as possible, as well as video game systems. You know, I have a nice variety of video game systems as well. Everything from like Atari up to PlayStation and Xbox. But anyways, I've just been in a really big kick for the past few years of getting into various tabletop gaming systems. Because it's a really nice counterpoint to video game systems. So the score the approximate score is roughly something along the lines of a 3.75 star to a 4 star. It would be nicer if there was a few extra things tossed in here. You could do like Chaosium and throw in some extra character sheets or pre-made characters, or a booklet that has. Actually, I'll go with the preliminary score of 3.5. The Chaosium stuff sits in that 4-star territory. And that's because they stuff in a bunch of character sheets and they stuff in actual adventures for you to run for your players. So when you buy the Gamemaster screen or the Keeper screen for RuneQuest, Roleplaying in Glorantha, or Call of Cthulhu 7th Edition, you get some adventures with it to automatically play with your players. And you get some character sheets so you can just hand them to them and you can just run with the core rule book and the screen and all the stuff you get between that, a game with your players. Where, in this case, you're still either going to have to homebrew stuff, or you're going to have to go out and buy another adventure plus the core rule book. So, this is a great start. This is a 3.75 preliminary star score. Chaosium is still the king of Gamemaster screens. It's just what it is. They put so much love and value into their stuff. It's just, you can't argue with it. They're literally up there. There's very few things that Chaosium needs to improve when it comes to their product line. Cubicle 7 and Mongoose are awesome with their stuff. Paizo is awesome. Dungeons and Dragons Wizards of the Coast is like, this is, by the way, $14.95. It's cheap, but all you get is like a sleeve and a horizontal screen that is good. So that's your reference point. This is $14.95. This is $29.95. The quality, you get a nice, beautiful book that goes along with this that helps you accelerate along your progress. This, you need a whole bunch more stuff for. So, thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and consider leaving a comment in the section below. And I hope you have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful week, and a magnificent month, and see you next time.